And I have Nick from the rock band Coded. Could you tell us a little bit about the band, like the band members' names, where you guys are from, what kind of music you guys produce?
Um, yeah, hi. We are at the moment a four-piece rock band from Cape Town, South Africa, and we've been going now for about 5 years or so. And sort of mixture of slightly older school rock with a bit of new metal kind of sound to try and keep a bit more up to times. Melodic, in your face kind of guitar driven kind of sound. So that's more or less where we come from and what we sound like.
Now, in South Africa, where you are, I know we talked briefly about it. You guys, there's not a huge rock scene where you're located, is there?
Well, there's different sides of that argument. Some people say there is a rock scene, but to be completely blatantly honest, I mean, our population is a fraction size of America. So obviously, when you guys say it's a small scene, it's actually, on our scale, it's actually a really big scene.
Okay.
But no, on our scale, it is small. It is really small. And unfortunately, if you're not doing indie kind of rock or any sort of pop or R&B, you're not going to stand much of a chance at all to break any radio play. So from that point of view, the rock shows are very very small and poorly attended in general, unless you are a bigger name. Then you can tend to draw slightly bigger audiences. But no, it's not really big. Well, at least not in the Cape.
So, who are some of your musical influences?
Well, there's several. The ones that we spoke about previously would be your bands like Alter Bridge, coming to that side of rock, your Papa Roach, of course, Linkin Park, definitely. Even bands slightly off center for us would be Paramore, um, uh, what's his name, Nine Lashes. Love the guys, the older stuff that they brought out. Red, really enjoy the Christian scene. It seems like the Christian rock scene out in the States is also pretty decent. The quality of rock that they bring out. So a lot of those kind of bands. What's the other one? UK bands. I'm just trying to think now. Um, uh, I've forgotten the name. Anyway, but yeah, that type of rock genre. So it's a fairly wide genre, but yeah, that type of style is what influences us.
And you talk about those bands, and if I think back, and I can, think about your vocals, you have that melodic tone, that rock melodic tone in your vocals, but yet you bring it with the grit and the push in your vocals as well. So those bands kind of shine through as influences to me, in comparison a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I mean, some of the grit I'm actually trying to tone down now. I mean, I'm still going to have the scream. I've actually just recently been learning a bit more scream techniques that are used by more the metal scene to try and improve on my scream tone. But as you would have noticed from the EP stuff that you are playing, I'm not a screamo band. I don't like to scream vocals all the way through. For me, it's more of a technique that I like to use selectively, because in that way it feels like it has a bit more impact. But I'm actually trying to tone back the grit on say, for example, your verse and your pre-chorus. To make it more clean vocals. So it's a bit of a thing, something I'm experimenting at the moment because we are busy recording for our album. But it will still be very much the same sound because that is obviously where I'm very biased myself. That's the style of music I love listening to. So that is the music we want to continue making.
And I agree because most of the bands that I gravitate towards, they have the perfect mix like you do, the perfect mix of melody and grit is not the perfect word to describe it, but and it's not. I don't like bands that are completely screamo all the time either. But I think it's the perfect mix because it's enough to display the emotion of the lyrics in the song, um, So I think that that's the perfect mix when you can do that, when you have that melody to tell the story, and then you have those grittier vocals to, get that emotion displayed where it doesn't have to be anger and it doesn't have to be frustration, but it just pushes us out there even further.
Absolutely. I mean, even a band like Shinedown, that's definitely the music I gravitate towards. I love heavy, but I absolutely love crunching guitar riffs, which is why our sound is still very much a guitar-driven sound, even though we're trying to bring in more elements of production into the side of the things, so that we can gravitate towards sort of the Breaking Benjamin kind of sound with a mix of the old school, slightly newer sound with mix as well as just the raw guitar sound. So, I very much love the heavy guitar crunch, but obviously everything has its place. You don't want to have that all the time. You have to have the low tones and the low moods and then, build it up. So from speaking from a vocal point of view, I will naturally always be gravitating towards clean vocals. But even your 30 Seconds to Mars, I absolutely love Jared Leto's screams, which is also sort of more the technique I'm busy trying to learn to incorporate into our new recordings, so that there's a little bit of variation in the screams, but I feel it's incredibly important, as you say, to tell a story with clean vocals and then build it up, and then chorus breaks and you can push the vocal, push the grit a bit more, because who doesn't love that kind of energy in a rock song? I think it's pretty addictive. I think most people would gravitate towards that sound. So yeah, that's definitely the way I try to play it. I don't want to just be heavy all the time. I mean, sometimes you get a song that is a heavier song that you can do a lot more heavy, but I love the balance of clean and heavy, with a bit of scream on the side. So definitely that's what we would try and achieve.
So speaking of vocals, and I first found the song Legacy. Can you tell us a little bit about that song and lyrically maybe what the song means to you, or the writing process in creating songs like that?
Well, I can actually give you a quick breakdown of how our band writes music, because I don't really play an instrument, and vocals is my instrument. Lyrics is my storytelling that I bring to the song and the melody. I write a lot of the melodies and, of course, the lyrics. So because of that, I use my own life experiences or good and bad, and as most vocalists tend to do if they write their own lyrics. And so Legacy in particular is just simply about, I was at that stage going through, a couple of years back, going through that patch where I was just thinking, am I going to be able to walk away from the music industry at whichever time that happens? And feel like I've left something for people to go back and listen to. And, then you're thinking of the grander scheme of every person's life. And you say to yourself, as you grow up, as you try and achieve your goals, or you move through life, or your journey, wherever that may take you, are we able to leave a legacy, or are we just going to become a number? And I feel that that's obviously very much what most people would want to say, is that they left a mark on the world, or was able to do something that even only if it's only some people would think it's really good, in some way leave a legacy. And now with having a newborn, I think of it in that sense of, I would like to leave him something, if I'm maybe not here, that he could still hear my voice, or that he could still say, hey, that was my dad, or something like that. So that's really what Legacy was about, was actually to try and make a happy song. Instead of just being like dark lyrics, I wanted to be more positive. And, I kind of stole a couple of ideas from one of Seether's songs, as well as Lost Prophets, where that whole idea of standing on top of the rooftops, or standing on top of the skyline and just screaming your lungs out, and just, saying, I'm here, we are here, and this is our legacy. So that's really where that song came from. And I'm just really grateful that it has had very similar things said about it from different people, different parts of the world. So that's it means that obviously it resonates, which is at very least what I'd love to achieve. That people listen to it and say, you know what, that makes sense, and I can see that in my life. Or maybe somebody needs to hear something like that, and that's exactly what they need to hear. And that for me would be, well, what music is, and that would be fantastic if I can walk away and say, I was at least able to achieve that much. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
And I think you guys do. I mean, I think lyrically speaking, that's the song that I gravitate towards. And, out of the songs on the EP so far, and you have, I mean, you've made a mark, and you have great music out there. So I think that's absolutely a brilliant choice of words for why you wrote the song. That's amazing. So when you
Thank
wrote,
you.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was just I'm saying like things like if you listen to Cause and Effect, every single song has definitely got a meaning, and I've either wanted to write the lyrics around a something that happened to me in my life, or just general observations of the world, or just my journey, so that it makes it more personal, so that people can listen to it and then listen to it again, and then start to hear the lyrics and say, hey, but you know what, that makes sense. And Cause and Effect, which is obviously a lot more angrier type of song, but it's a lot heavier song. That song was about school bullying, for example. And each one of our songs is about something, which actually happened to me as a primary school kid. So yeah, I mean that's exactly what we try to achieve, or what I try to achieve with the lyrics.
Now, when you perform your songs, when you guys perform live, do you bring that emotion on the stage with you? And when you see that people are singing your songs and belting your lyrics back to you, how does that feel to be up on stage and experience that?
I think any musician, regardless of genre, any musician will tell you that just being on stage for a start is to some degree a privilege. But, well, that's at least how I feel. As I've gotten older, I feel that although we don't perform that often enough, because this is really, we're not science, so obviously it's as we can do it, as we can put the time aside from our ordinary work lives to make the time to do things like this and make it possible. When I do, I've taken more stock over the last couple of years and actually say, you know what, this is special in whichever form. So being on stage and being able to just do a performance, even though you have those nerves and the first and second song, you're still trying to work through your own not stage fright, but your general nerves and get out and, like you say, belting the songs out and what have you. It does feel special, and I do feel honored to do that. We obviously are not playing on massive platforms, on massive stages, so I'm hoping that still happens. But they say sometimes the hardest performances are the smallest and the most personal performances, when you have less of an audience, because it's more one-to-one. And I definitely have felt that, and so we give it all regardless of the size of the crowd. Only the true fans that have either received our albums or bought our albums and have listened to us more than once would know some of the lyrics. So when you see the guys mouthing it a little bit in the crowd, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. I've always said that is the epitome of doing, being a so-called rock star, or being in a band and having people sing it back. We still haven't got, unfortunately, the point yet where it's on a bigger scale where you can have more of that, because I've always said that would be the ultimate for me. That would mean that I've arrived. And even if I'm not massively successful or anything like that, that would be good enough for me, because clearly at some point you're touching people and it's resonating enough for them to learn the lyrics and actually join you while you're putting it out there.
Now, I know we talked about this a little bit beforehand. So you guys have never been on a tour. What if you guys could plan the ultimate tour, and at this moment in time, you could pick any bands to tour with? Who would be your dream ultimate tour of bands to go tour the world?
Wow, that's quite a big question. No, for sure. I mean, look, we've only played around our province, so we can't really call that touring. But we do expect to tour the album to some degree in large, with at least our country, which is still quite a big country. So for us to be able to schedule that, that will still be to some degree an achievement. But I hear what you're saying about doing a global tour, sure. But you're putting me a bit on the spot now, because I actually, there's so many bands. I mean, a lot of the bands that I've mentioned who are influencers, we would love, absolutely love to share stages with some of those bands. It would be, I would literally, after doing something like that, would say, if I die tomorrow, that would be it. That would all I would ever expect to ever achieve in my life. And that would be the highlight of my life. So we could literally choose any of those bands and, tour parts of the States, maybe even Europe. That would all be special. So I would be happy even to do a fraction of that much. It would be absolutely amazing.
So what is in store for the rest of 2018 for Coded?
Well, that's really simple. We have, over the course of this year, we started right at the end of last year, December last year, but obviously with the holidays and everything, you don't get that much done. So it was really primarily from mostly the beginning of the year till now, we have been tracking drums and guitars. We've done bass as well for the album. I have started already close to the beginning of the year to do some vocals, but now it turns out I might have to redo some of the stuff. But for me, for the rest of the year, will be obviously just tracking vocals as I get a chance. So we do expect, especially from a production point of view, it to still carry on into somewhere probably middle of next year. Hopefully it doesn't take too long, but we knew it would be a long journey because this isn't our day job. So we can't concentrate every day or even every week on the project. But that would definitely be what we would be planning to do. Maybe schedule a gig in between here and there, but to most definitely try and complete the album so that we can, well, put it out there and see what you guys have to say.
So currently, you guys have an EP out, and I had mentioned I found you guys on YouTube. Where can people find your music? Do you guys have a website? Where can people find you guys?
Well, largely we base ourselves obviously on Facebook, like a lot of our local bands do. So we've got a Facebook page. We do have a YouTube page as well, where we've put a lot of our content, like our interview that we've had on TV. We've had one of our morning live shows that we performed 2 songs on, so that's on there as well. Your platforms like your Deezer, I think your iTunes, there are other, we're obviously also on Twitter as well and things like that, as most of these bands tend to do. So we are out there, but I think we're going to really start to do a bigger push when the album is complete, because obviously we would want to tour the album and we would want to promote the album. So we will find us on a lot of these electronic platforms mostly.
And there was one question that I totally missed, because it's definitely a question I wanted to know the answer to too. How did you guys come up with the name Coded?
Well, I think if you speak to any band, coming up with the name is probably one of the hardest things, because either the name has been taken before, and then you have to also have your members all agree that it's a cool name and everybody likes it. So we threw around lots of names. Right at the beginning, we called ourselves Almost Alice, as a very left of center type of name. But that didn't resonate with all the guys 100%. And then, we carried on thinking about it. Coded for us was a name at that time that I researched. I see somebody else around the globe somewhere has also called himself Coded, since we've already claimed that name. But, I looked on YouTube, I looked on Google and Facebook, and I didn't see anybody take that name. So, we thought, okay, well, it's a pretty cool name. But essentially, for us, we feel that music is coded in the band members' DNA, which it is in any musician. And so it kind of resonated a little bit there, and it was just like, you know what, that makes sense. It's got a little bit of a meaning, and it's not a name that I've heard before. So, yeah, and everybody liked it, and well, that didn't take too much thought further from that point. And we were agreed, and yeah, we are.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for the interview. I appreciate it so much. I'll be playing your music after the show, and when you guys have the new album out, send it to me, and I would love to play your new music and share it with everyone.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for reaching out to us, and we love being able to share the stuff, and obviously we just want people to listen to it, and if they like it, support us, and yeah, so that's always very encouraging when we get responses like this where you guys are into it, and you know, we'll keep on creating, and sure, when the album's done, we will definitely send it your way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I adore you guys, and I have a, it's a little bit of a cheesy thing, but I always tell people to spread the love for music. So I always tell people to share the music you love, because everybody needs help getting the music out there. And I'm not only, I'm a fan. I love music, and I have been a music fan for years. So I definitely will be there to help you guys get your music out too.
Thank you so much, and that's always a great thing. It's what we do this for, as well as obviously the love for the music itself. So every little bit helps. You're 100% right. Share the love.
Thank you.
Awesome.